Big boy, oh big boy. Why so popular? Simple. The power, the size, and the weight are the main ingredients of this gigantic steam locomotive, often regarded as the largest and the strongest of all. Ever since the completion of number 4000, the 4884 Big Boy ultimately became a favorite of train spotters and model railroaders alike. And of course, one of them, number 4014, runs on the rails today due to its successful restoration by the Union Pacific Railroad, the only original purchaser and operator of the Big Boy. Now, I know a lot of people have posted YouTube videos to either show off this engine in action or to tell the history of it, but the purpose of my video you're watching is to give you a retrospective of Lionel's Big Boy model over the years, from the early O-scale Trainmaster Command Control version to the semi-scale Linemaster engine to the super ultra prototypical Vision Line product of today. As many of you already know, Lionel is celebrating its 125th anniversary in 2025. One of its latest offerings is the Vision Line New York Central 464 J1E Hudson, the new and improved rendition of the 700E that was first produced in 1937 and last produced in 2010. Now, I could try to make a complete history video of the Lionel Hudson, but that would be way too many of them for me to research, considering the pre-war, post-war, and modern versions. It would take me a very long time to track every 464 engine throughout the company's 12.5 decades of business. The same thing would be true for another popular Lionel engine, the Electromotive F3 diesel locomotive, first cataloged in 1948. However, the O-gauge Big Boy was announced for the first time by Lionel in the modern era, just prior to the 21st century. Despite its popularity, there aren't necessarily that many versions of this engine, up to and including the 2023 offerings. For that reason, the Big Boy is the best candidate for my first Lionel retrospective video. Now, before you type anything in the comments below, I honestly do not have any O-gauge Big Boy in my collection. I know some of you may find it strange, since I did the complete history of the MTH Rail King SD90 Mac diesel, which I do have in my fleet. The simple reason I don't have the Big Boy is its high price tag. It is very expensive, be it a full-scale Vision Line product, or even the smaller Linemaster version. Still, I really think it would be a lot of fun to learn all the big boys made by no company other than Lionel, an American icon. So, we're just about ready to begin the full story, though I have one small disclaimer. There have been at least a couple of uncatalogued engines made exclusively for specific dealers, but these will not be covered in this video. Almost all of you should be familiar with the Big Boy, but I will do a brief history of the real engine for a few people who are not. Let's jump back in time to the 1930s. Like many other U.S. railroads, Union Pacific requested bigger and more powerful steam locomotives to haul longer, heavier freight trains up steep grades at higher speeds. Initially, UP took delivery of the 4664 Challenger class, first built by the American Locomotive Company, or ALCO, in 1936. These were designed to replace the 9000 class 412-2 steamers, also built by ALCO. The main difference between the two types is, of course, the wheel arrangement. The 412-2 is considered the longest American freight engine riding on its rigid frame. One of its weaknesses, however, was its inability to handle tighter curves. The solution? An articulated steam locomotive containing 2 sets of drive wheels. This allows the first set to turn independently, with the second fixed to the frame. While the Challengers were fine runners on the UP, the railroad needed an even larger locomotive for the same purpose. In other words, to reduce the demand for helper engines and to conserve their fuel sources. In September 1941, as part of a 20-unit order, the first example, number 4000, traveled all the way from Alco's Schenectady, New York factory to Omaha, Nebraska. "What's your name?" asked Sir Topham Hatt. "Wasatch, sir, but I'm usually called Big Boy, simply because of my size." "I don't know who came up with that name, sir, but I like Big Boy better than Wasatch." "Good, Big Boy it shall be." Many of you probably have heard that the 4884 class was intended to be nicknamed Wasatch after a mountain range in the state of Utah where they would be assigned to pull heavy trains. However, at the Alco factory, an unknown employee used a piece of chalk to write the 2 words that became a permanent nickname for these locomotives. The Big Boys had also served the Sherman Hill grade west of Cheyenne, Wyoming. The final month of 1941 was a tragic time for the United States when the Japanese invaded Pearl Harbor. In response, the U.S. joined the Allied forces of World War II, and the railroads began hauling troops and essential supplies for the nation's military. The Big Boy was a perfect choice for the job during this conflict. In 1944, an additional 5 locomotives were ordered and numbered from 4020 to 4024. Even after the war ended, the Big Boys continued their revenue service on the Union Pacific until 1959. While most of them were scrapped by 1962, 8 units were thankfully donated to their respective locations for static display. Let's jump ahead to late 2012, when Union Pacific made a formal decision to restore one of the Big Boys more than 50 years after their retirement. Resting at the Rail Giants Train Museum of Pomona, California, was number 4014, the ultimate candidate chosen by UP. Beginning in August 2013, it took at least 4 months to prepare and move the Big Boy through the Los Angeles County Fairgrounds until the engine reached existing tracks. By May 2014, it arrived successfully at Cheyenne to be restored at the UP steam shops. The Big Boy's restoration work was on hold until 2016 due to an overhaul of another famous locomotive, the 484 FEF3 Northern number 844, the only steamer that was never retired by Union Pacific. Now, I have one personal event that happened during the restoration of 4014. On August 14th, 2017, my parents and I visited the Steamtown National Historic Site in Scranton, Pennsylvania. The main attraction is another Big Boy, number 4012. Since we currently live in Maryland, it is the nearest example we were able to see on site. All the other boys, apart from 4014, are currently displayed in Wyoming, Colorado, Missouri, Wisconsin, Texas, and Nebraska. Work was finally completed in May 2019, just in time for the 150th anniversary of America's Transcontinental Railroad. Since then, number 4014 has hauled excursion trains on the main lines of Union Pacific and is a significant reminder of the days when railroads needed high horsepower steam locomotives that turned out to be excellent performers of freight transport. Needless to say, this and all the other boys are the mechanical marvels of industry in the United States. That's pretty much all I have about the real 4884. but you can always do a Google search to learn more about this fascinating engine. Okay, let's move on to what you're all waiting for, the history of Lionel's Big Boy. Lionel wasn't the first company to make an O-gauge big boy model. The very first known example was built by Williams Electric Trains in 1989. 8 years later, MTH followed with its own version as part of its premier O-scale line. And now, Lionel introduced its first full-scale big boy, originally priced under $1,500, in the 1999 Volume 3 catalog. With its cab number 4006 and product number 6-28029, it features Rail Sounds 4.0 and Trainmaster Command Control. It should also be noted that the very first Lionel articulated steam locomotive was the 2666 Allegheny in the 1999 Volume 2 catalog. It was available in 2 railroad names, the Chesapeake and Ohio and the Virginian. Although the retail price was $100 lower than the Big Boy, the 2666 still has the same TMCC and rail sound system. Ironically, the real Allegheny is known to be more powerful than the Big Boy, producing about 7,500 horsepower compared to 7,000 horses, respectively. Yeah, but let's continue with Lionel's Big Boy. In addition to the 32-inch long, full-scale version, which requires 72-inch diameter curves or wider, Lionel decided to make a semi-scale O-gauge Big Boy that can negotiate 31-inch diameter curves on small layouts. It was first offered in the 2003 Volume 2 catalog as part of the Lionmaster series and measures approximately 29 inches long, 3 inches shorter than the O-scale engine. Despite its compressed length, the Lionmaster Big Boy, cab number 4024, has the same rail sound system and TMCC. This product number, 6-38075, was featured again in the 2004 Volume 1 catalog. Let's jump ahead to the 2006 Volume 2 catalog, a remarkable moment in Lionel history. Why? Because the company announced not only another run of O-scale Big Boys, but also its next-generation control system, TMCC2, more commonly known as Legacy. So, the first engine to be equipped with Legacy is, you guessed it, the 4884 Big Boy, featuring Rail Sounds 5.0. 3 cab numbers were offered: 4014, 4023, and 4024, all part of the Joshua Lionel Cowan series, or JLC, if you will. This product line is what I consider the predecessor to the Vision line, if that makes sense. JLC was created in 2000 to celebrate Lionel's 100 years and counting by offering the most spectacular O-scale models in the market, with more technologically innovative features and details that were absent from previous products. The same purpose is true for the Vision line, which will be covered later in this video. Because the 2006 Big Boy was made from all new tooling, a couple of noteworthy details include a detachable smokestack hood and the tender's coal load that can be removed to reveal an auger. This was used to convey the coal into the locomotive's huge firebox. While all of the 3 engines are nearly identical to each other, there is at least one number-specific detail: the pilot. Notice the air brake radiators mounted on the pilot of number 4014. The other 2 numbers do not have that detail. Additionally, Lionel offered a free legacy command control set with the purchase of any JLC Big Boy such equipped. In fact, there were a few special locomotive products that previously came with a free TMCC system when purchased. I wonder if Lionel considers the same thing for the new Base 3 that was first announced in 2022. Who knows? In the 2008 Volume 1 catalog, Lionel brought back the Linemaster O-Gauge Big Boy, this time with Legacy. It is numbered 4006, just like the 1999 O-Scale version. Also featured in the same catalog was the first American Flyer S-Gauge Big Boy, number 4014. Interestingly, when K-Line Electric Trains introduced its own 4884, the locomotive itself was built to 1/64th scale, but designed to run on 3-rail O-Gauge track. Back in the pre-war years, i.e. prior to World War II, the A.C. Gilbert Company used to manufacture American Flyer 3/16-inch scale trains for the same gauge as Lionel. But of course, Gilbert later banished the center third rail and switched completely to S-Gauge after the war. Since K-Line filed for bankruptcy in 2005, it was acquired by Sandakon, a Chinese company, and Lionel was given the rights to market products under the former's name for a few years. For that reason, the engine and tender bodies for the S-Gauge Big Boy presumably came from the ex-K-Line tooling. This item appeared again in the 2008 Volume 2 catalog. In Volume 1, the description originally said that the American Flyer Big Boy was equipped with TMCC, but it was soon changed to Legacy as the latter became standard on many Lionel engines by that point. Unfortunately, there is only one version of the S-Gauge Big Boy from Lionel. My guess is that because of Sandacon's ownership of K-Line, Lionel's license to produce such trains expired in 2010. On the contrary, the Legacy-equipped 2-truck Shay locomotive apparently came from the ex-K-Line tooling. I could be wrong, but there is also the American Flyer S-Gauge Challenger, which might have been derived from the K-Line O-Gauge version. Before we jump into the 2010s, Lionel commenced the Vision line in its 2009 Signature Edition catalog. With regard to O-scale steam locomotives, one of the prominent features are the steam effects, such as the whistle and the injector, powered by their respective smoke units. The first two engines equipped with those features are the Pennsylvania 0880 CC2 and the Santa Fe 3000 class 2-10-10-2. The following year, Lionel offered the third rendition of the Linemaster O-Gauge Big Boy number 4011, along with the Pennsy 4444 T1 Duplex in the 2010 Volume 1 catalog. Like the 2008 version, both engines have Legacy command control, but they also have the Vision-style whistle steam effect. That feature later became standard on many recent Lionel O-scale steam locomotives, in addition to the Vision line products. And now, we go to what I believe is the Lionel Big Boy at its peak, the Vision line era. It all began with the 2014 Signature Edition catalog. Why did the Big Boy join this product line, you would ask? For starters, it is filled with several previously offered Vision features, including the smoking whistle and blowdown pipe. Strangely enough, the 2010 Linemaster version is the first Lionel Big Boy ever to feature whistle steam. Also, on the 2014 version, the twin smokestacks are connected to not one, but two smoke units, giving the illusion of alternating puffs. Unlike most O-gauge steam locomotives, which have the sound electronics only in the tender, the Vision Big Boy has 3 speakers, 2 under the tender and 1 under the engine. This gives the prototypical stereo sound in which the locomotive effects, the whistle, the bell, and so forth, can be heard appropriately from the engine and not from the tender. The dual sounds feature was initially offered in the 2010 Vision Line Challenger. Can you guess where the Big Boy's best feature is located? The honor goes to the 14-wheel centipede tender. So what really makes this engine a Vision product is the coal load, which gradually runs low as the Big Boy rumbles down the track. Usually, the time it takes to deplete the coal depends on the engine's operating time, speed, and labor. However, the alternative is to access this feature in demonstration mode for those people who want to quickly see the action. The 2014 Vision Line Big Boy was available in 7 cab numbers, all based on the preserved examples. While 8 of the real boys exist today, the only one unit inexplicably missing in this lineup is number 4023. With all these elaborate Vision features, the retail price on the Big Boy was just under $2,700. My God, that was extremely high. When I first saw this engine as a Vision item, I considered that as the most expensive O-gauge locomotive on the market. Still, 2014 was a good time to reintroduce the O-scale Big Boy, since number 4014 is the most talked about example of all time. Let's move forward to the 2019 Volume 1 catalog. One of the highlights in this big book is the introduction of Lionel's LionChief Plus 2.0, the successor to the original LionChief Plus system that came out 5 years earlier. The Lionmaster Big Boy returned as one of the first O-gauge engines such equipped. Unlike the 2010 Legacy version, the LionChief rendition does not have whistle steam, but it does feature Bluetooth for compatibility with the LionChief Smart Device app or the Universal Handheld Remote. 4 different cab numbers of the regular Big Boy were offered in black paint. Also included in this lineup was Lionel's first 4884, painted in a fantasy scheme, Union Pacific Greyhound, which was only seen on the Challengers in real life. In addition, the company offered its first Big Boy train set. It consists of 1 Lionmaster locomotive, number 4004, 4 flat cars, each carrying 1 Sherman Army tank, and a CA-3 caboose. This set is apparently a nod to both the Sherman Hill grade and the tank builder's name. What a coincidence. As you can see, the O-scale Big Boy is featured on the cover of a catalog like 2019 Volume 2 every time Lionel reissues it. At first glance, you would be like, hey, they're bringing back the Vision Line Big Boy. Well, not exactly. But this catalog introduced the first ever Legacy-equipped, oil-fired versions. That's why they're not considered Vision models, because they feature oil tenders and not the depleting coal load. Let's talk about these tenders. Many of you already know that number 4014 was converted from coal to oil during its restoration for a couple of reasons. 1, to make the locomotive burn fuel more cleanly, and 2, to eliminate having to stoke coal into the fire, even with the auger inside the tender. However, instead of rebuilding the big boy's tender, Union Pacific chose to accelerate the restoration process by using the one behind its 4664 Challenger, number 3985, which was originally restored to operating condition in 1981. While the Challenger was also converted from coal to oil, its tender was indeed rebuilt to carry the latter. Since both locomotives have centipede tenders, engine number 4014 ended up with the one from 3985, and vice versa. Now this was not the first time to make the big boy oil-fired, nor was it the first tender swap in the history of Union Pacific. In 1946, number 4005 was experimented to run on oil for a short time, but it was soon switched back to coal. More importantly, both the big boys and their centipede tenders were interchangeable, allowing the locomotives to be back in service from maintenance and repairs as quickly as possible. Because of this, the engines did not have to wait for their tenders that might still be repaired. Instead, they would use any available tenders, which had to be renumbered to match any engine before returning to work. For example, prior to its restoration, number 4014 was last connected to a tender that previously belonged to 4015, and of course the tender's number was changed from the latter to the former. Remember, if you have more than one Lionel Big Boy or Challenger in your railroad empire, do not attempt to swap their tenders. They always have to electronically correspond with their own engines of the same number, so the locomotives can function properly. The 2019 oil-burning Big Boy was offered in 4 options: number 4005, 4012 in the Fantasy Greyhound paint scheme, and 2 versions of 4014. One is the first run edition with the Big Boy chalk marks and a glossy finish. The other is the excursion variant without the chalk. Although these locomotives lack the depleting coal load, they were made with some vision line features, such as stereo sound and the popular whistle steam effect. We're now approaching the most recent big boys from Lionel as of this video you're watching. And yes, it is from the Vision line, as featured in the 2023 Volume 1 catalog. This locomotive includes many of the previous features from the 2014 version, with a few extras. First is Bluetooth control, providing up to 5 running options, or 6, if you count Lionel's new Cab 3 and Base 3 system. Speaking of which, this rendition of the Vision Big Boy includes a feature exclusive to Cab 3 called 4-digit addressing. It allows a user to expand his locomotive roster without assigning the same ID number for multiple engines, and it also encourages the user to no longer memorize engine addresses for an obvious reason. Another noteworthy feature is the Force Coupler, which was introduced in the 2018 Vision line 484 Niagara, while the whistle and blowdown smoke effects returned with the 2023 Big Boy. The dual puffing smokestack feature was omitted in favor of the third new feature, the pop-off valve steam effect, also introduced in the Niagara. I think that was a good trade-off, if you ask me. There are 9 cab numbers in the 2023 catalog. First is the oil-fired version of 4014, which does not have the depleting coal load feature. For that reason, the retail price on this item is $100 less than those with coal tenders. Other numbers include 4000, 4002, 4012, 4014 in its original form, 4019 with a pair of smoke deflectors or elephant ears, 4023, made exclusively for the Lionel Collectors Club of America. 4024, painted in the fictional Greyhound scheme with yellow trim, and also with smoke deflectors. And lastly, number 4021 in another Greyhound scheme with white trim. By the way, I think both the 2014 and 2023 Vision Big Boys came from the same tooling as the 2006 JLC version, but please correct me if I'm wrong. The final cataloged Big Boy we come to is from the Vision line Super Set. It consists of one locomotive, number 4008, 3 Vision refrigerator cars, 3 Vision stock cars, 1 Freight Sounds boxcar, and 1 Vision caboose. A total of 4 cars are equipped with special sound effects. Now, for this video, I'm not going to talk about these cars because Lionel did a pretty good job explaining their features in the 2023 catalog. The Super Set is a fantastic recreation of a typical steam-era train, especially with the reefers, a prominent job for the Big Boy. If you recall, I originally didn't want to include the 2 exclusive Vision line Big Boys painted in custom liveries, but you know what? I decided to add them for the sake of consistency. I guess I've broken my own rules. I'm sorry, everyone. The first custom run was for Brady's Train Outlet of Greensburg, Pennsylvania. While most of the paint scheme is black, the elephant ears are decorated with American flags and Union Pacific's current slogan, Building America. The other custom Big Boy, the oil-fired version, was made exclusively for Train Loft of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It wears a vibrant gold livery inspired by the Rio Grande Heritage Scheme, painted on a UP SD70 ACE diesel. It is also numbered 4025, the only number that doesn't exist within the Big Boy class. Very cool. Both locomotives were made in 2023 alongside the regular cataloged versions. Alright, the grand total of Lionel Big Boys is 37. That's 1 TMCC O-scale version from 1999, 9 Linemaster O31 gauge engines, 3 JLC O-scale models, 1 American Flyer S-gauge model, 4 oil-fired versions from 2019, and 19 Vision line O-scale models, including 2 custom runs. Of all these locomotives, only 2 of them were available in train sets, the Linemaster Sherman Hill set and the Vision Super Set. So there you have it, 37 Big Boys from Lionel. I hope I counted all of them correctly and didn't miss anything important. What do you think? Well, that completes the history of Lionel's 4884 Big Boy. I hope you've enjoyed how this locomotive evolved over time, and one makes it arguably the finest O-scale Big Boy on the market. From what I understand, the Vision line was not intended to be affordable for everyone, but this ginormous steamer turned out to be a great seller from that product line since 2014. To my knowledge, Lionel offers a brand new Vision model primarily in an even-numbered year, and a reissue of an existing type in an odd-numbered year. For example, the Big Boy last returned in 2023, and in 2024, Lionel introduced the Vision line 28882 Triplex. With that being said, maybe the Big Boy will be brought back in 6, 8, or 10 years from its last release. Who knows? If you love this locomotive, you might have saved up your money to buy this expensive but awesome model with more features than before. I hope someday I'll have a Big Boy for myself before I go up in heaven. Lionel, Keep up the marvelous work of art on this and all the other locomotives of the Vision line. My pick of the month is related to the same engine I just talked about. This is my DVD copy of a Pentrex program, Union Pacific Big Boy Collection, featuring all the 25 big boys in service during the 1950s. It's amazing to see every real locomotive of that type being recorded in a 35mm film camera. I highly recommend watching this program. While buying this DVD from my favorite online dealer, RailfanDepot.com, I also accepted a free Pentrex DVD offer, Steam 98. Among the stars of this program are Union Pacific 844, Southern Pacific Daylight 4449, and Milwaukee Road 261. The third DVD I bought from Railfan Depot at the same time is Street Running, a fascinating tour of all the notable towns where trains traverse the streets. Other two Pentrex DVDs I recently acquired are Union Pacific's Marysville Subdivision, Volumes 1 and 2. I found them in used condition at the National Capital Trolley Museum last August, so I have expanded my Pentrex collection with 5 DVDs since spring 2024. But wait, I do have a couple more related DVDs produced by Kalmbach Media: Big Boy on the Road to Restoration and Big Boy Back in Steam. Both programs focus on number 4014 before and after its resurrection. Highly recommended. Because of all the research I've done in making this video, I would like to give credit to the Lionel Collectors Club of America. As member of the LCCA, I have access to the complete digital archive of all the Lionel catalogs from 1900 to 2010. If it weren't for this benefit, my video would not possibly mention every big boy produced by Lionel. More recent catalogs from 2011 to present can be viewed publicly at lionel.com/catalogs. So if you'd like to visit the archives, you must apply for membership at lionelcollectors.org. Link to this website is in the description. Hopefully, you'll appreciate the promotion of every train product manufactured throughout the company's 125-year history. If you'd like to support La Rosa's Trains, I would greatly appreciate it. That can be done through my Patreon page at patreon.com/LaRosasTrains. Patrons will receive exclusive benefits, which are all explained directly on this page. Link in the description. Your contribution, regardless of your preferred membership, is essential not only to me, but to the future of La Rosa's Trains. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and be sure to hit the subscribe button so you can see what's coming up next from this channel. Anyway, that's all for now, and as always, thanks for watching. I'm Brian La Rosa, and I'll see you next time.